Today, we're diving into something called SQL SQMI. Think of it as an AI-powered guardian for your database, and it's designed to tackle a problem that, well, a problem that I'm sure many of us have faced, one that's usually working away in the background, totally silent.
So let me ask you this, especially if you work with data every day. Is bad data secretly costing your business? And I'm not talking about the big, obvious crashes. I mean those subtle, slow burn problems that are just festering right under the surface of your applications.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You've seen it a million times. Dates in all sorts of crazy formats, critical customer info just gone, and oh, my favorite, those so-called temporary workarounds that somehow become a permanent data corrupting part of your production code. It's a headache for pretty much everyone.
And all of this stuff, it leads to what we're calling the silent data problem. See, it's not just some technical annoyance for the IT department. Nope, it's a real business risk. And the scary part is, it often goes completely unnoticed until, boom, it's way too late. I mean, think about it, right? One single bad date format, probably not going to crash the system. But thousands of them, yeah, that will. These little errors just pile on top of each other, and suddenly your business reports are junk, your system integrations are failing for no apparent reason, and your engineers are wasting so much time chasing down bugs that weren't even bugs to begin with. It was just bad data all along.
So how in the world do you fight a problem you can't even see? Well, the answer might be a solution that's just as silent. Let's meet SQLumAI.
Okay, so what is this thing? At its heart, SQLumAI is basically an invisible proxy. It just sits right there between your apps and your Microsoft SQL Server. It watches all the data flowing through, spots any quality issues, and uses AI to give you insights. And here's the killer feature. It does all of this without slowing anything down. No noticeable latency. That's huge. Yeah, the best way to think about it is like a smart, invisible guardian. It's not some big, aggressive firewall that blocks everything. It's more of a helpful gatekeeper. It just watches, makes suggestions, and only steps in to enforce rules when you give it the green light, all to make sure your data stays clean. All right, so how does this guardian actually pull this off without getting in the way of everything? Let's take a look under the hood at the architecture. It's actually really clever. Okay, this is the really cool part. The whole design is built around this idea of a tale of two paths. First, you have the hot path. This is for your live, real-time traffic. It's got to be fast, right? So it only applies simple, predictable rules, like, say, auto-correcting a phone number format. There are absolutely no slow, heavy AI calls happening here. All the smart AI stuff, that happens out of band on a totally separate path where it analyzes log data later, so it can find all these deep insights without ever blocking your application. So let's just walk through the flow, step by step. It's pretty straightforward. Your application sends some data. The SQLumAI proxy takes a quick look, applies those super fast rules we just talked about. Then, everything that happens gets logged. And finally, completely separate from your live traffic, another process kicks in, analyzes those logs, and uses AI to cook up some really valuable insights and reports for you. And that brings us to the really exciting part, the AI-powered insights. This is where SQLumAI goes from being just a simple gatekeeper to, a genuinely smart partner. It's the difference between always reacting to problems and actually getting ahead of them, preventing them. It completely changes the game from being a data firefighter to a data strategist. So where does the AI actually fit into all this? Well, the magic happens on that second path, the one that's not in real time. It uses what's called a large language model, an LLM, and that's just a fancy term for an AI that's been trained to understand and analyze things kind of like a human would. Here's how it goes from raw data to real action. First, it just watches and collects all the raw SQL events. Then, it starts grouping things together, finding patterns, asking questions like, hey, how often is this field empty? Or what are the most common errors we're seeing? And finally, that local LLM reads all that analysis and summarizes it for you in plain English, suggesting things you can actually do. It's amazing. It turns all that raw noise into a clear, actionable signal. So, for example, instead of just a dashboard with a bunch of error percentages, you get an insight like this. Let's say for an IT help desk system. It doesn't just say error. It says, hey, for incident type VPN, a critical field is missing 28% of the time. You should update the portal form to make it required. See? It tells you the exact problem and the exact solution. Now that is powerful. Okay, the theory sounds great, right? But what does this actually look like in the real world with real business systems? Let's kick things off with a classic, a CRM system. We all know how messy those can get over time. Yeah, CRMs are always full of duplicate contacts, incomplete leads, typos in email addresses, you name it. A normal tool might just flag these one at a time, which is overwhelming. But SQLumAI's AI can look at the big picture and give you an insight like, hey, I found 420 duplicates in your small business segment, and here's how I found them by matching their email and organization ID. You should run a cleanup. It's so much more targeted. All right, how about another one? Let's talk about a booking system where clean data is absolutely critical to the business.
You know the kinds of problems you see here? Double bookings, or my personal favorite, reservations where the end time is somehow before the start time. The AI insight here is brilliant. It doesn't just say you have an error, it pinpoints the source. It'll say something like, 5% of your bookings coming from the kiosk have an end time before the start time. You need to fix the UI on that kiosk. It's so specific. Of course, whenever you talk about AI and data, you've got to talk about safety and control. And SQLumAI was clearly built with this in mind. It's designed to be safe right out of the box. First, it's local first by default, meaning no data gets sent to some external AI service unless you explicitly set that up. Second, it starts in dry run mode. It just logs and suggests things without actually blocking or changing anything. And most importantly, you are always in control. The AI suggests, but a human, you, makes the final call, always. So in the end, that's what SQLum is, an intelligent guardian, just quietly watching over your data. Which really leaves you with one big question to think about. What hidden, costly data problems could an AI guardian like this find hiding inside your systems?